Vampire Clan Queen dodged the attack quickly. The terrifying blow left Vampire Clan Queen looking incredulous. At this moment, Zoe hoisted the long knife on her shoulder and taunted. Pretty good reaction. You actually managed to dodge my attack in an instant. But next time, you won't be so lucky. Lanchi, who saw the scene, was suddenly amazed. She said, Unknown_0 Zoe, how did you suddenly become like this? On the other side, Lily also immediately activated her transformation. In an instant, she grabbed one of the minions of the Vampire Clan Queen and shouted loudly saying, Now, immediately right now, hit the like button. So, can Zoe really defeat the fully evolved Vampire Clan Queen? Subscribe to the channel, so you will know what happens next. Do you know what the consequences are if you get bitten by a zombie? Lily is affected by the zombie virus and transforms into a fighting loli. After a few rounds, she beats Zoe so badly that he surrenders. Now that Zoe has learned the secret of the power of clan, she even transformed into her second phase form right in front of the Vampire Clan Queen. Not long ago, the Vampire Clan Queen was about to strike down the minister. At this moment, Zoe suddenly flashed behind him. Just a simple red blade slash was unleashed. The Vampire Clan Queen had to choose to avoid it. This scene made Minister unable to believe his eyes. He didn't expect Zoe's power to suddenly become so strong. And on the other side, Lanchi and others were completely stunned. It feels like Zoe has become a different person. At this moment, the younger sister of the Vampire Clan, held back by Lily, suddenly said loudly, Damn it! Don't underestimate us! She said, and then she broke free from Lily's wrist. She then escaped from her control in a few bounces. The move made Lily stunned. She didn't expect it to run away from her hands. At this moment, the younger sister of the Vampire Clan continued to taunt, saying, Do you think you can trap me with just that? Do you think I'm a pushover? She said, Oh really? I'd like to see what you're really made of. As soon as she finished speaking, the little sister from the Vampire Clan rushed towards her. But she hadn't even had time to make a move before Lily kicked her in the chin with a bang. Then Lily bent down, readying herself for another strike. With a swish, she charged toward the little sister of the Vampire Clan in the air. Just as she was about to get close to her, Lily threw another punch with a bang. Lanchi and the others who saw this scene were all dumbfounded. How could Lily's strength be so exaggerated? At this time, the little sister of the Vampire Clan, who landed hurriedly, flipped over. As she did so, fresh blood flowed from her hand. In an instant, numerous clones of her appeared in the air. But before she could act, Lily kicked her with a bang. At this point, the little sister of the Vampire Clan was speechless. Is this guy still human? Why can't she handle her at all? Meanwhile, on the other side, the Vampire Clan Queen brushed past in a hurry towards the front. Zoe, who saw this scene, quickly drew her dagger. The city of Tech behind her was instantly split in half. The chief president and several others who witnessed this scene exclaimed it was abnormal. Is this really Zoe's power? Why does this feel a bit different? At this moment, the queen of the Vampire Clan also sneered and said, So you've been enhanced too. But I don't have time to waste on you. Go and bring Zombie out for me. She then activated her own power of clan. In an instant, waves of terrifying energy burst out from her body. However, Zoe, who sensed the threat, had no intention of backing down at all. I know I am not your opponent. But if you think you can challenge Zombie with just this little ability, I advise you to give up. The Vampire Clan Queen was suddenly stunned by these words. But before she could think further, at this moment, Zoe suddenly covered her face and burst into laughter. She said, Come on! Let me show you my second phase form. Bring your popcorn and beer. Zoe actually activated her second phase form. When facing the attack from the Queen of the Vampire Clan, Zoe just raised her hand and made a swift slash. I didn't expect that she would chop the Vampire Clan Queen into countless pieces. Not long ago, when the vampire clan queen activated the power of clan, Zoe suddenly covered her face and said, "Come on, let me show you my second phase form." And then, the skin on Zoe's face began to fall off in bursts. Lanchi and Chief President, who witnessed this scene, were both dumbfounded. What is she going to do next? However, before they could think further, Zoe suddenly yelled at the sky. 1 second. Countless purple energy then started to scatter from her center. The terrifying energy almost blew away Chief President and others. And the vampire clan queen also had an incredulous look on her face. Just because, at this moment, Zoe has already transformed into another form. Not only did a pair of horns grow on her forehead, even her facial features have become like those of a demon. At this moment, Chief President, with a look of horror on his face, exclaimed loudly, "Is she still human? How did she transform into this terrifying appearance?" At this moment, the vampire clan queen also couldn't believe it and said, "You actually have mastered the power of the clan too." Zombie, who is watching the show downstairs, looks confused. Did I ever teach her how to use the power of the clan? I can't seem to remember. On the other side, Lily is also stunned. She was bitten by Zombie as well. Why is she able to activate the second phase form? Just at this moment, the vampire clan queen suddenly spoke in a cold and loud voice. "Are you so eager to seek death?" she said. "What? Are you planning to scare me to death with your voice? Want my life? Then let's see if you have the ability." With Zoe's voice just falling, vampire clan queen is already here. Just flew to the top of her head. However, facing her sudden attack, Zoe is not flustered at all. Just as the vampire clan queen was about to raise her weapon and strike at her, Zoe quickly drew out the dagger in her hand. At the moment the knife was unsheathed, Zoe even used her own blood to make it sharper. With the upgraded red blade slash unleashed, the vampire clan queen was instantly cut in half. Then Zoe accelerated in an instant. The next second, countless blade aura emerged on the body of the vampire clan queen. The dense blades unexpectedly cut her cells into several pieces. Then came a PU sound. The vampire clan queen was chopped into mincemeat by Zoe just like that. This action shocked everyone present, causing them to show expressions of disbelief one after another. When the investigator reported that Zoe had cut off all cells of that person, the chief president was suddenly terrified and exclaimed loudly, "This is impossible! This is simply too irrational!" Upon hearing this, Lanchi, with a furrowed brow, seemed lost in thought. It is estimated that she also wanted to go find Zombie and bite herself. As for the country president, who serves as the ceiling of human combat power, he was speechless at the moment. How come so many experts have emerged in the academy in just a few months since I went out? However, Zoe does not show any signs of wanting to relax. She just turned her head and said to the air, "You can't be that weak. Or are you planning to hide and carry out a sneak attack?" As soon as her voice fell, the vampire clan queen in the air began to gather again. The woman just lifted her hand and made a cut. She actually split the earth into two halves. Not long ago, when Zoe activated her second phase form, a casual slash cut the vampire clan queen into countless pieces. But at this moment, the blood chunks in the air began to coagulate again, under the continuous recombination of flesh and blood. Before long, the vampire clan queen appeared unscathed in front of everyone. Both the chief president and the president of Stick Club were stunned by the scene. Are they still considered human? At this time, Zombie, who was watching the show on the side, suddenly whispered that Zarina was going to get serious. He said that, and then he jumped in another direction with Bieber. But at this moment, Zoe in the field still said casually, "That clueless guy told me you are a 1,000-year-old monster. Indeed, you cannot be described by common sense." Country president, upon hearing this, was stunned. But just as he was about to make a move, Golden Arm, whose hand had already transformed, suddenly showed a reaction. On the other side, Zombie, accompanied by Bieber, had already arrived at the best viewing spot. At this moment, the queen of the vampire clan in the arena suddenly lifted her hand. The next second, the clear sky suddenly turned dark with thick clouds. However, Zoe, who witnessed this scene, was completely composed. She even took an attacking stance and said, "Come on! Let me see your true strength!" She brushed up into the sky with a single sound. The vampire clan queen, who saw this scene, quickly drew the long sword in her hand. The next second, a skyscraper hundreds of meters high was cut into more than a dozen pieces. With a bang, those buildings that were cut quickly rushed towards Zoe in the air. But facing the rapidly approaching buildings, Zoe only raised her hand and made a single cut. The dozens of meters thick concrete wall was cut in half. But at that moment, the vampire clan queen suddenly appeared in front of her. Taking advantage of Zoe's lack of reaction, she punched her hard. Zoe, in pain, did not hold back her strength either. She only saw her gather up all her strength and strike towards the vampire clan queen. The next second, the enormous blade aura actually cut Sidious in half. Lanchi and the others who witnessed this scene were so scared that even their drawing style changed. Even Zombie couldn't help but let out a "Wow! When this woman gets violent, it's really scary." Not good, not good. The ancient era that was destroyed by Zombie has revived. Not long ago, Zoe made a normal slash with her sword. I didn't expect that in an instant, she would cut Sidious into two halves. However, despite this, the vampire clan queen didn't seem to be hurt at all. Lanchi, who saw the scene, couldn't help but exclaim, "This is too abnormal." He was cut like this and still didn't die. His strength is stronger than the country president's. However, the country president she mentioned is currently facing some trouble, just because he can't take off the golden arm he put on. Just then, Zoe brushed and flew to a large glass in the great summer. She hadn't even stood firm yet when the vampire clan queen rushed over. Next came a thud. Zoe was once again kicked in the chin by her. At this point, the vampire clan queen raised her hand to gather a surge of energy. The next second, Zoe slammed into a skyscraper with a bang. She said, "Don't think you're so great just because you've activated second phase form. In front of me, you're nothing." Lanchi and a few others who heard this were already beyond shocked. It's like a battle of gods. However, just as they were exchanging blows, at this moment, the country president on the other side underwent a mutation. What happened? Why did this glove suddenly attack my right hand? Just when the minister was still looking confused, some golden energy suddenly appeared in his blood. Immediately, a voice sounded in his mind. Let your body be my vessel for now." That's right. The voice is the ancient person from the ancient ruins earlier. On the other side, Zoe, who was knocked out, finally regained consciousness. She pulled out the long knife stuck in her chest and said, "I can't control you. But how can you do anything to me?" Seeing how insane Zoe's combat power is, Lanchi even grabbed Zombie's clothes and said, "I also want to become like them." But Zombie said it's not possible. After all, women who transform are just too violent. However, at that moment, a loud noise suddenly came from afar. The sound made everyone present stunned. What's going on? Why did suddenly feel a terrifying pressure? The chief president next to me looked at the sky in horror. Originally, at this moment, a huge creature appeared in the sky out of nowhere. Accompanied by it was a terrifying laugh. Ha ha ha. I have finally succeeded in resurrecting. Bring your popcorn and beer. The ancient civilization that has been consolidated for 2 centuries is appearing again. He not only easily handled the vampire clan queen and the transformed Zoe. He even forced Zombie with just one move, directly transforming into the third phase form. Not long ago, since the country president brought along the golden arm, He found that he couldn't take it off no matter what. Soon, a voice came from inside the glove. Let your body become my vessel for a while. The minister never expected that the golden arm turned out to be a conspiracy of that ancient person. As the blood fusion came to an end, the next second, a huge figure suddenly appeared in the sky. Just then, with a loud crash, the machine stomped and collapsed a whole city with just one step. The people in the city were all stunned at this moment. What kind of monster is this exactly? At this time, there was another deafening crash. The building where Zombie was located was instantly smashed to pieces. Zombie quickly bounced back and forth among the ruins upon seeing the situation. It turns out he was rescuing the presidents, who were unable to retreat in time. But just as he had thrown everyone out. At this moment, the mech in the air suddenly reached out and grabbed him. After catching Zombie, the mech quickly clenched its fist. However, at this moment, the vampire clan queen suddenly flashed and disappeared. Zoe saw this and hurriedly chased after her. I didn't expect that. The two of them brushed past each other like this and arrived at the top of Mech's head. The minister, who had just come to his senses, shouted angrily. What do you want to do? He said. I'm sorry, youngster. For the sake of a better future for humanity, I have to sacrifice you. As soon as his words fell, a brand new mech suit covered his body. The chief president, who saw this scene, couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. The nearby president of Steel Club was even more frightened and couldn't even speak. Just at that moment, Zoe, who was right overhead, suddenly noticed that Mech seemed to have something in his hand. It turns out that Zombie was being pinched by Mech at that moment. The queen of the vampire clan, who witnessed this scene, hurriedly rushed towards the ancient person, followed by Zoe. However, with a loud bang, their combined attack was easily resolved by the ancient person. With a brushing sound, the two of them were even more restrained by the ancient person. He said, We have been researching Zombie's genes for several centuries. You two women actually use them as stimulants. How shallow! At this moment, Zombie in the distance activated the second phase form under the pressure from Mech, causing him to rotate 360 degrees in place. Then Mech's fingers began to rotate along with it. Then it affected his entire mechanical arm, and Zombie took advantage of this opportunity to leap up, wanting to blow up his head directly. But with a bang, the other arm of the mech came crashing down again. At this moment, the ancient person in the distance opened his arms and loudly said, It has been 1,000 years. Do you know how I have spent these 1,000 years? Looking at Zombie, who is struggling to support himself at this moment, the ancient person excitedly said loudly, Come on! What are you waiting for? Show your ultimate form. As soon as he finished speaking, Zombie slowly opened his eyes. Those eyes looked harmless to both humans and animals. Can you believe it? Zombie actually has a fourth form. Not long ago, under the pressure of Mech, Zombie activated the third phase form. With a loud bang, that mechanical arm was instantly lifted off by Zombie. The vampire clan queen who saw this scene instantly widened her own eyes. But at this moment, the ancient Mech showed not a hint of fear. He even boasted, Are you looking down on me? You monster! Upon hearing this, Zombie was momentarily stunned. He retorted, Compared to me, you seem more like a monster. At this moment, Lanchi, who was spectating on the ground, was completely dumbfounded. What on earth is this unknown_4? At this moment, Zombie suddenly accelerated, rushing straight towards the head of that mech. Ancient person, who saw this scene, immediately snorted coldly. The next moment, the hatch of the mech slowly opened with a creaking sound. Soon, rows of robots were seen crawling out from inside. Is this ancient technology? At this moment, both the chief president and the president of Stick Club were so scared that they didn't dare to breathe. But these robots that looked very powerful. In front of Zombie, they were as fragile as paper. With a tearing sound, The robot was instantly torn in half by Zombie. They saw more and more robots approaching. Zombie immediately tightened his fist to gather strength. Then everyone just heard a loud bang. Those robots were instantly turned into scrap metal by Zombie. At this moment, Ancient Person bumped his fist and said, "Have I still not made you use your full strength? So in the next few moves, let's see how you block." As soon as he finished speaking, several giant mechs appeared out of thin air. Chief President, who saw this scene, immediately got angry and said loudly, "If we keep fighting like this, Zombie won't die, but we will be doomed first." The Ancient Person continued to shout, "On the last night before dawn, I saw that this is not your true self." This statement caused Zombie to pause for a moment, but before he could think further, Ancient Person controlled the giant, and mech then rushed towards him with a roar. With a loud bang, that powerful punch aura actually directly destroyed more than half of the city. Zombie was even under his strike. He was smashed to the moon in outer space with a loud crash. The blow left Zombie confused, although it didn't cause him any harm at all. At this moment, the minister inside Ancient Person suddenly exclaimed angrily, "Look at what you've done! Is this the result you wanted?" But he didn't have the chance to finish his words. At this point, Ancient Person interrupted loudly, saying, "Shut up! Zombie, this time I must get rid of you." He then teleported the giant mech to the moon. At this moment, Launchy and the others on the ground were beyond shocked. Only because the giant mech unexpectedly planned to destroy the moon as well. Little did they expect that the moon would be punctured by the ancient civilization. However, Zombie was completely unharmed. Even with just one punch, he turned all the mechs into scrap metal. Not long ago, Zombie was punched and sent flying to the moon. Immediately after, the mech from Ancient Era also followed and caught up. But at this moment, Zombie suddenly, he dodged his attack by flashing to the side. Then he made a jump on the spot and appeared in front of that mech. The chief president, who saw this on Earth, exclaimed, "So amazing!" At this moment, Zombie suddenly bent down in the air and gathered strength. The next second, he fiercely punched the mech in the eye. With a series of banging sounds, the ancient mech immediately collapsed on the surface of the moon. At the same time, the Ancient Person on Earth also looked shocked. Just then, the minister inside him suddenly said loudly, "I have read the information about Zombie. He not only manages City H very well, but also creates billions of dollars in tax revenue for us. Sometimes, he has even helped us humans more than once. I want to know why we can't live together with him." The Ancient Person who heard this immediately retorted and said, "Shut up." Later, he looked up at the moon in the sky and sighed. He said, "How we wish for peaceful coexistence. But look at his current state. Does it look like he is capable of peaceful coexistence?" Originally, zombies were supposed to be just a weak group. But I don't know why. Suddenly, this guy appeared. And the survival of our humanity all depends on his likes and dislikes. Do you think? Can we allow such a creature to survive in the world? Therefore, those not of our kind must be eliminated. As soon as his voice fell, the mech in the sky began to reassemble once again. After 2.5 minutes, the ancient mech not only successfully reverted to its original state, but also had an extremely sharp long sword in its hand. At this moment, the Ancient Person suddenly shouted loudly, "God's wrath!" The next second, all the mechs in the space began to move. With the sound of "Pu pu pu," our poor moon was punctured by them like this. But even so, Zombie at this moment has nothing to do. Later, he even sneered and said, "Sometimes, it's not the bigger size that means stronger strength." Upon hearing these words, the Ancient Person suddenly felt a great sense of crisis. But before he could react, Zombie suddenly raised his hand and made a gesture as if firing a gun. The next second, all the ancient mechs shattered instantly. Even the entire moon couldn't help but tremble. Such a terrifying sense of oppression made Launchy feel very uneasy. Immediately he shouted to the surrounding president that it was no longer safe here. Quickly evacuate the surrounding residents from here. As soon as he finished speaking, Zombie suddenly appeared in front of Ancient Person, immediately followed by a booming punch that hit Ancient Person in the face. The powerful force instantly knocked him into the depths of the ocean. However, that's not all. At this moment, Zombie inserted both hands into the ground. So, everyone, guess what he is planning to do? Bring your popcorn and beer. Zombie's ultimate third phase form is here. Facing the high-tech mech of Ancient Person, Zombie only needs to raise his hand to wave. The next second, the Ancient Person instantly turned into scrap metal. Not long ago, Zombie angrily threw Ancient Person into the sea. Facing this sudden attack, Ancient Person is also shocked at the moment. And the presidents in the city are evacuating people from all over the place. But just as Lanchi was about to evacuate while holding a baby, at that moment, the ground beneath her suddenly began to shake. It turned out that Zombie was using both hands to claw at the earth. The onlookers, upon seeing this scene, all displayed expressions of fear. With a click sound, the area where Zombie was located instantly cracked open. Immediately after, everyone felt a tremor similar to an earthquake. At this time, Zombie is exerting force once again. The next second, the surrounding ground was torn apart by him abruptly. In an instant, a crack of tens of thousands of meters appeared in the city center. The chief president, who saw this scene, was stunned. Lanchi, on the other hand, accidentally fell into the crack. However, despite this, the crack continued to extend steadily. Before long, even the ocean was split in half. On the other side, the president of the Stick Club hurried to rescue Lanchi. However, at this moment, Lanchi saw an unbelievable scene. Only to see the Ancient Person, who had been smashed into the sea, suddenly surfaced. The next second, Zombie slammed a punch on that person's body. The powerful force directly smashed Ancient Person into the mountain peak. "Damn it. This guy's strength is too terrifying," he said. "See that, younger generation? This is the destructive power of Zombie." However, he hadn't finished speaking yet. At that moment, a tsunami suddenly rose up from the sea. Yes, it was indeed Zombie unleashing its ultimate form. The minister, who saw the scene, was suddenly shocked. What kind of creature is this guy after all? Zoe is also very confused. How can Zombie transform form again? The vampire clan queen next to me is speechless. How come I have never seen her before? However, the Ancient Person at this moment excitedly said loudly, "Aha, that's right. Before dawn disappears, the face I see is indeed this one." Saying that, he accelerated and flew up into the sky, watching Zombie, who had completely liberated its form at this moment. Bieber was suddenly horrified and exclaimed loudly, "I didn't expect that. The Ancient Person is doomed." He said that, and then with a bang, he hurriedly ran outside. And at this moment, the Ancient Person in the sky burst into loud laughter and shouted, "Come on! I have been waiting for this battle for 1,000 years. But before he could finish his words, Zombie suddenly raised his hand and waved. The next moment, the mech on the Ancient Person's body shattered instantly. At this moment, Zombie clenched his fists again with a click. The Ancient Person was also immediately crumpled up. At that moment, a surge of energy suddenly shot straight into the sky. Instantly, the Ancient Person was blasted into scrap metal. After losing control of the Ancient Person, the minister was finally freed from the shackles. But at this point, he was already on the verge of death. The presidents who saw this scene couldn't help but cry out, "It's over. The country president is going to die." But just then, Zombie suddenly snapped his fingers at the minister. The next second, the cells in his body began to reorganize again. Bring your popcorn and beer. Zombie finally realized his long-standing dream. Not only did he let the zombies under his control help humans rebuild their homes, he even provided loans to the vampire family to settle down and start businesses in the city. Not long ago, Zombie transformed into his ultimate form. Just a gentle lift of the hand. Instantly, he killed the arrogant ancient person. At this moment, the body possessed by the minister is finally liberated. At this moment, Zombie suddenly raised his hand and pointed at him. The next second, the minister's body began to reorganize again. Both the chief president and the minister were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. The queen of the vampire clan next to them was even more disbelief written all over her face. Zoe also widened her eyes and exclaimed loudly, "I can't believe it can be done this way!" At this moment, the minister suddenly woke up from unconsciousness. When he looked to the side and saw Zombie reaching out to save him. At this moment, the minister finally understood why Ancient Person was willing to kill him at all costs. Just because Zombie is too powerful. And it's a kind of power that is deeply frightening. With his existence, I'm afraid there is no human who wouldn't feel scared. Just like that, Ancient Person's battle was ultimately ended by Zombie's swift kill. The spectators on the ground witnessing it at the moment couldn't be described as anything less than shocked. Just at that moment, Zoe suddenly appeared in front of Zombie in a flash. He said, "Oh, it's Zoe. How's it going? Is the power of clan useful?" At this moment, Zoe returned to her human form and angrily exclaimed, "How dare you! What a useful fart. Look at what you've done. Our house is gone." Zombie tore the earth apart with his bare hands. He instantly ripped a hole in the ground, causing the southern continent to shift over 100 kilometers due to this event. And so, 2 months quickly passed. Due to human evacuation before the Great War, they did not suffer significant harm. However, the rebuilding of their homes was all entrusted to Zombie's citizens. At this moment in the office, the country president looked at the data in front of him and fell into deep thought. The information displayed only showed the complete data of Zombie from first form to fourth form. Faced with such terrifying Zombie, what choice will the minister make? Suddenly, Inspector Clara walked in holding a cup of coffee and said, "Country President, did you call me for something?" He said, "I heard you visited City H last time. How about this, buy some eggs later? Let's go visit the newly appointed Chief President of City H." On the other side, Vampire's new city is also gradually getting underway. Leon is the person in charge of this project. At this moment, Vampigirl stepped forward and said, "Brother Leon, where did you get this money from?" However, upon hearing this, Leon broke out in a cold sweat. It turns out that all his money was loaned to him by Bieber, Zombie said. Instead of letting them rob a bank and cause trouble, it's better to just lend the money to them. According to the interest rate of 20 points, they would have to work for us for at least 300 years to pay it off. Upon hearing this, he couldn't help but think to himself, indeed, capitalists are truly evil. As for the vampire clan queen at this moment, she has been scared into shutting herself off by the Zombie. She didn't expect that Zombie still has a fourth form and wants to defeat her. It's probably impossible in this lifetime. She said, "Darn it! I refuse to believe that in this world, there isn't anyone who can be Zombie's opponent." Zombie's wish for zombies to coexist with humans has finally been realized. But what he didn't know is that in an underground city left by some ancient civilization, a man suddenly appeared before the remains of that ancient person. I didn't expect that the newcomer turned out to be the long-lost Dr. Jamin. He said, "Zombie, just you wait for me. As long as I am still alive, I will never give up." Do you know how terrifying a self-disciplined zombie is? He is called Zombie. Zombie means zombie. His age is unknown. The time of his death is unknown. He only remembers still being in school when he turned into a zombie. At that time, he was still very weak and could only mindlessly charge forward with the rest of the troops. But one day, humans actually refined zombies into corpse oil and even invented a perpetual motion machine powered by zombies. So in order to protect himself, he had to exercise daily. He swims around the earth a few times every day. he also eats protein powder as food. Even in the evening, he has to do some aerobics. In this way, after not knowing how long he had been exercising, he became bald. He also became stronger. And he can also transform into various forms during battle. But he becomes extremely unstable in this state. Sometimes, he even accidentally destroys a civilization. But despite this, he still wants to be friends with humans. So he began to try to help humans solve all kinds of troubles. So, under his relentless efforts, a city belonging to zombies was finally established. But at this moment, he suddenly realized a very serious problem. Because of being too powerful, it has caused humans to be very afraid of themselves now. Suddenly, a bell rang outside the door. Zombie hastily opened the door and said, "Who is it?" To his surprise, it was Zoe, who had come early in the morning to hurry him to work. Quickly, after finishing washing up, Zombie headed to Abnormal Entity Academy. At this moment in the gymnasium, Lanchi is delivering an impassioned opening speech on the stage. Seeing that the time is almost up, Lanchi promptly waves his hand and speaks loudly. Next, let's invite our newly appointed Chief President Zombie to come up and say a few words. As soon as her words fell, the students in the audience loudly said, "Chief President, hello," to Zombie. He looked at the neatly arranged new students in front of him. At this moment, Zombie was a bit puzzled. Immediately, he awkwardly touched his bald head and said, "Good morning, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button while watching the video." At this point, the teacher in the audience quietly said, "President, your seat has been changed." Upon hearing this, the former chief president hurriedly interrupted him, saying, "There's nothing I can do. Who asked me to be unable to beat him?" At the same time, in the minister's office. Just then, Inspector Clara suddenly rushed in anxiously. She said, "Something's not right. It seems like things have escalated." She then handed a mobile phone to the minister and said, "This is a call from the country president." The country president, who heard this, was suddenly shocked. He thought to himself, "It seems that I can't escape this after all.